Alright, that's enough of that. Take a long minute to get used to this costume. That's right, in today's Have a Break episode...
Have a break.
That's what I said. We're visiting 1996. And not only that, but during the 3 weeks in spring that Firestarter was at number 1, so I'm dressed like a pillock for justified reasons. Sort of. Because although we've been to 1996 before, today we're visiting a different part of it to the last time. Our previous visit took in its TFI Friday adjacent Main Street. Burgers and fisheye lens and noise, the long cocaine-fueled evening of Britpop. The sort of thing which would have actually called for the Firestarter costume. This time, however, we're on the other side of the day, looking at a kids' movie being shown on Easter Sunday, April the 7th, on Channel 4. A kids' movie made by a Mormon at that, by which I do of course mean the almost legendary Don Bluth. The film in particular is All Dogs Go to Heaven, Bluth's last of the 80s, and, not coincidentally, his last before going all crap in the 90s. Although Titan AE is a bit underrated. We start with the adventures of the world's dumbest white man.
English? Oh, no. Coca-Cola. Yes, Coca-Cola. I'll have Coca-Cola, sir.
Sorry, this is a hardware store.
Hardware.
I think we're supposed to like this character. Or see him as a lovable goofball or something. But to me, he's just a twat. Let's go through it forensically. Mr. Peckerwood here wanders into what a cursory glance should tell him is a hardware store. Probably not even that far abroad, probably just the Chinatown district of Ottawa or something. And then he lurches into a good-naturedly racist pantomime in an attempt to acquire a Coca-Cola, accidentally coming across as a sexual predator at one point as a bonus. When he could have just said the words Coca-Cola and been understood. Because guess what, idiot? It's a brand name. It's the same in every language, you gargantuan tool.
Coca-Cola!
In summary, white people are shit.
When things get knocked over, spill, or fall out of cupboards.
Dear God, some wine has made contact with what I must assume is an unscotch-guarded carpet. In a disaster like this, we need a hero. In spandex with a cape if possible. Fortunately, if somewhat surprisingly, there is one to hand in the shape of 1001 Troubleshooter. What's that mean?
In emergencies like this, you need our best ever cleaning power.
In practical terms, this means a Wally in rubberware spraying Mr. Muscle on the stone. Except obviously not Mr. Muscle, it's 1001 Troubleshooter, which I have to admit to never having heard of before or since in my life.
New improved 1001 Troubleshooter.
This is of course almost impossible to take seriously. It might have worked in the 50s, when there was a lot less guile around, as a sort of black and white 2D cartoon made by Hallison Batchelor. But by 1996 the kitsch needs to be balanced with a lot more irony than we're getting here. Make your own MCU joke, I can't be bothered.
New improved 1001 Troubleshooter.
Want to cut down on life's little worries? Get a free BT charge card. Use this and any call made away from home is charged to your home phone bill. Give one to the kids.
Doesn't get more mid-90s than this. BT and their regular spokes fireplug at the time, Bob Hoskins. The It's Good to Talk campaign, which amazingly is almost 30 years old now, is one of the most iconic and successful campaigns of that decade. It was created mostly for image purposes. BT were already the market leader, and practically the only game in town, with their main and almost only competitors, Mercury, having pretty much given up and gone home by 1994. The government sold the last of their shares in it around the same time, completing BT's privatisation and leaving them a completely independent company at the top of their industry. They should have been happy, but unfortunately no one liked them. They were still associated with piss-smelling broken phone boxes, high phone bills, and that Piper logo, which at best came across as a Ponzi ribbon around a turd. Even with no competitor to speak of, it wasn't a good place for a company to be in the mainstream consciousness. So they came up with the idea of promoting the basic concept of communication as much as their actual business and services. They launched with that Pink Floyd sampled epic written and narrated by Stephen Hawking, but for the main campaign they settled on Bob Hoskins, so as to address ordinary people, particularly hairy bloke men like Bob himself, who wouldn't usually give a monkeys about BT except when paying the bloody bills. The idea was to offset the perceived ponciness of Principal the Piper. And so Hoskins became, for a few years, that phone guy what wanders around doing pieces to camera. Today he's lamenting those times when you need to make a call on a payphone and ain't got no bread on you. Just get a magic phone card that adds the cost to your regular phone bill.
Use this, and any call made away from home is charged to your home phone bill.
Obviously this is 7 kinds of obsolete nonsense 23 years on, but it seemed vaguely impressive at the time. You can lend it to the kids so they can beg for a lift home after Chelsea lose away and their response is to set the bus on fire.
Give one to the kids. Makes it easy to ring home.
Or maybe it's Millwall. That would fit the profile better. Or if you happen to break down in the middle of nowhere, you can use it for call for help.
Handy too, in an emergency.
What?
Assuming there's a phone card equipped phone box in the middle of nowhere, which there almost certainly is not.
Or abroad. No need for lots of funny money.
So you can even use it in foreign countries like France and that. So you don't have to fiddle with no honey-hon francs nor nothing. Just good old British pounds. Just call this number while Bob has a pint, because he's such a rough-and-tumble proletarian bloke.
And on a friend's phone, the call goes on your bill and not his. Just ring 0800 800 070 to get one or more cards for your family. They're free and worry-free too. Cheers.
As you can see, he was the perfect choice for this role. It's possible that no one else alive could ever have got away with such shameless working-class pandering. Certainly BT's struggle, after he tired of being the phone guy and left in 1997. They carried on It's Good to Talk without him for a while, and they never successfully replaced him.
They're free and worry-free too. Cheers.
Teeth. Colgate introduced Total, which these days is their main brand, or at least it seems that way. Here's where it started as a gimmick.
Listen, Colgate Total keeps on protecting you against plaque and cavities while you're working.
Specifically, the idea is that its antibacterial midichlorians stick around after you've rinsed everything else out to keep protecting your teeth all day, as if you'd never stopped brushing at all, except without the horrific bleeding that would cause. They communicate this notion by having the sound of brushing repeating constantly over and over, which if it happened in reality would make you dash your brains out on the sink within a week, especially if the noise could be heard outside your mouth as well as inside it, and even more especially if it just interrupted a string recital.
And even against tartar and gum problems while you're playing, thanks to its antibacterial protection.
She's taking being stared down by Sir George Salty remarkably well. Also from Colgate, a toothbrush.
And for complete cleaning, the Colgate Total toothbrush with 3 different bristles.
Sold separately.
Colgate Total, for a life of complete oral care.
There's something inherently sympathetic about John Thompson that the advertising industry got a lot of use out of. Here he is in Death of a Salesman.
None of these prospects seem much good.
So, time for booze.
Well, they're the best I've got, so I'll stay with them.
What a loser.
At a certain point, one might give up and move on to some other target. Then again, he appears to live in an isolated cottage in the middle of the moors. Neighbours probably aren't a consideration. We bet he's lucky not to have got a shotgun in the stomach the first time he broached the fence. Maybe it's a car salesman hazing ritual. Yeah, if you can sell a car to this guy, you can sell anything to anyone. Either way, he's going to pitch this damn Nissan to Tony Martin, or rather some slightly doughy and sinister ugly bloke in a sweater, over the course of several days until he finally gives in, no matter how many times he has to be told to sod off. You have to admire his dedication and pity his stupidity. Yes, it seems that eventually the prick is tempted by the fact that the doors lock. You never know what will motivate some people.
Demand more for your £11,455. The Primera Precision.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Emma. And we're going to show you how to make a great nighttime snack.
For the uninitiated, this is Kellogg's, completely missing the point of Get Stuffed. Get Stuffed, and I'd love to include some footage here because it was great, but I have prior experience of its producer's last-ditch television being dicks about that sort of thing, so I won't, was a rarity, a late-night TV show that actually managed to become iconic despite going out at 3 in the morning on ITV. Basically, the premise was that various university students up and down the country, I'm pretty sure it was open to anyone in theory, but in practice only students either watched or contributed to it because it was on at 3 o'clock in the morning, filmed themselves making food, usually mutant improvised low-cost student munch, like a cornflake and mushroom bake with cheese sauce. The people at Last Ditch then provided primitivist cartoons, scrawled information, random guitar notes, and voiceovers in a silly voice, plus wacky linking material in which the masked and brightly clad mystery chefs taught you how to crush garlic. Because individual recipes were 5 to 10 minutes long, it showed up as filler material on late-night ITV well into the 21st century. It actually became quite well known in the daylight world, leading to several parodies. One of the best is in The Day to Day, if you can get past one of the on-screen participants being latterly known as an appalling bigot. One of the least convincing was this advert, for cornflakes prepared the usual way, without the mushrooms and cheese sauce.
Get a bag of Kellogg's cornflakes and some milk.
Find a clean bowl and pour in the
delicious flakes of corn. Pour the milk over the Kellogg's cornflakes.
What you need.
Yummy! Especially right now.
What the advertisers here have failed to grasp is that on Get Stuffed, the style wasn't affected. At least the parts they want to emulate weren't affected. They were imposed by the conditions, which is to say no budget, a camcorder, and a cupboard-sized student apartment. The Day-to-Day did it properly by replicating those conditions. This is too obviously shot in a studio on high-grade videotape by professionals. Not that it really matters, because it's only an advert and it gets the idea across. The idea being, eat cornflakes. You might could eat them in the evening yet.
Especially right now.
This was a message that Kellogg's were keen to put forward at this time for some reason. Possibly people were eating fewer cornflakes in favour of actually tasty cereals, with which the original and best couldn't really compete. So they wanted to forcibly broaden our horizons instead. And at least being too slick means that Last Ditch won't mistake it for the real thing, and order this video destroyed.
Kellogg's cornflakes, so delicious, so simple, so why wait till breakfast?
Hefty hit for one try for the well-tired dive. When he got to the top, he changed his mind. Only one thing for this, Kellogg's Coco Pops.
Kellogg's with a 1-2 punch. It is a kids' film after all, so here's Coco the Monkey, with another increasingly vaguely jungle-related scenario.
So I built a swimming pool with Coco Pops to the brim.
All these other jungle animal characters, they also have names, you know. But Kellogg seemed to have given up on giving a flying fuck about that sometime around 1990. So I'm fucked if I'm going to bother looking it up. To their credit, they pay attention to detail. I was all set to point out that the pool is full of water, not milk, and that's just disgusting. But no, they clearly drained it and refilled it with milk before the Coco Pops were added.
Filled the swimming pool with Coco Pops to the brim. When he saw the milk turn chocolatey, he dived right in.
Continuity is important.
I'd rather have a bowl of Coco Pops.
Win Euro 96 tickets with Fujifilm.
Finally, in case you'd forgotten, it's Euro 96 in a few months there. Here's Jonathan Pierce to do his usual Bennoing.
And Giggs is in the box!
Always been kind of fond of old Piercy though. Especially after the Plymouth Argyle-Chelsea game at which he admitted to being a child of freedom feels, just like myself. Anyway, here Fujifilm get in on the Football's Coming Home act by offering tickets and a free picture of Ryan Giggs, who won't be at the tournament because Wales are crap, but is still football's biggest heartthrob at this point.
Everyone wins a photo of Ryan Giggs!
Seriously, he was a sporty girl's Gary Barlow. Pin-up posters and t-shirts a lot. To be fair, he was very pretty. And we didn't know then that he was actually a faithless wife-beating toss rag. Did I say actually? I meant allegedly. Seriously though, fuck that guy.
And Giggs is in the box! Everyone wins a photo of Ryan Giggs!
Not very kid-focused in the end, was it? For an unambiguous children's movie. Almost not at all, in fact. Just the Coco Pops, the Giggs pin-up, and perhaps the Coca-Cola. Although a lot of that advert would probably have gone over the kids' heads. The Get Stuffed parody certainly will. And then the rest are for phone cards and cars and carpet cleaner. Resolutely adult business. It's all a matter of time slot nuances. Morning slots would have had fewer Nissans and more scale extras, because at that time of day the adults in houses tuned to children's programming rather than GMTV or something were either running around doing important things or, particularly on a Sunday, lounging around in bed, while the kids were being kept quiet by the flickering images and noise. This, however, went out in the afternoon, lunchtime in fact, when parents are much more likely to be stuck with their kids being held hostage to Don Bluth. And the adverts reflect that fact. Hey, at least it's not a troll in Central Park. You just sat through a Bob the Fish production. Nice! If you haven't already, you absolutely must check out bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds more videos not unlike that one, adding up to days worth of entertainment and all absolutely free. But if you're not a cold-hearted skinflint, you can always support us on Patreon. For as little as anything at all, you can make programs like the one you just watched possible in the first place, and become eligible for bonus material such as glimpses of the book I'm writing about the BBC, monthly riffings on random commercial breaks, the complete archives of the angry political satire magazine Two Sons, and even the odd very occasional bonus video essay unavailable anywhere else. If nothing else, you should prevent me from starving and or freezing to death in the foreseeable future, so that'll be nice. No pressure or anything. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.